All right, good morning, welcome. I'm Bill Collins, the owner of Interstate Truck Driving School. Um, we're going to live stream this class so that people that are at home can watch if need be. So the first thing I want to do is go over some of the information here about how our program works and what we're doing here. And the first thing I want to do is introduce my staff. If I can get this to work. Come on. Well, there's more than one way to skin a cat. We'll do it this way. We have our staff on our website. So there we go. All right, Pat Ackerman is my training coordinator, your training coordinator. I'll bring him back to meet those of you that are starting today. Pat will come back and introduce himself and talk about that. The four of you that started last week, you've had some interaction with Pat already, right? Now, who doesn't have their permit yet? Okay, so you're not going to get a sit down with Pat until you get your permit.
I know.
Okay, so you got your permit. So you've had a sit down with Pat. You got a schedule.
Yeah, we gotta get together again.
Okay. All right. So anything with a steering wheel in front of you goes through Pat, right? And so as the three of you that are starting today, do you have your permit? Not yet? You two guys do? Okay. So since you've got your permit, later on this week or first of next week, you'll have a sit down with Pat and he'll start planning out your driving. Okay? But anything with a steering wheel in front of it goes through Pat. Again, I'll have him come back and chat with you here in a little bit. Josh, many of you know Josh. He wears a lot of hats around here. He's in charge of our online training, amongst other things, and so I'll have him come back and speak to that a little bit today, too. Melissa is our office manager. She's also our VA liaison, so if you're doing the GI Bill stuff, you want to connect with her. Bob Christensen. Bob's a classroom instructor here. He's a former state examiner. He'll teach the classroom some of the days of the week. He's also here most days of the week to practice what we call the ABBC air brake check process. So those of you that started last week, Bob is here to help you practice that today. So you four guys that were here last week, I want you practicing your ABBC at some point in time today.
Yep.
So find Bob, the truck that you can hear outside running right now, that's the truck we practiced that with. So I want you guys to practice that every single day that you're here.
Yep.
Those of you that are starting this week, we'll introduce you to the ABBC process on Wednesday. And then going forward after that, then we'll want you practicing it every day. Okay? So Bob helps us with that. Tim Hoskins, one of our driving instructors. He's been with us 10 years now, so I need to update the website here. Tim's a former student. He's very passionate about what he's doing. He's here to help you guys pass your test. Paul Holmquist is a part-time instructor in our Wisconsin school. We're getting our Wisconsin school ramped up again. We've got a bunch of things in place, but we still have to get some approval and accreditation stuff back from the state of Wisconsin before we start utilizing it. But you may be interacting with Paul once we get that going. Mark Sanders, former state examiner, former commercial vehicle inspector, former high school driver ed teacher. Mark's very knowledgeable in terms of commercial driving. His greatest experience is dealing with buses, but he's also driven trucks. And so he's one of our full-time instructors, very knowledgeable, especially about the rules and regulations. Bubba Gary, part-time classroom instructor. he's got some health issues going on right now, so he hasn't been working with us lately. Hopefully his health will turn around and be able to come back. Phil Campa, former student, worked for Schneider, and now works for us as a driving instructor. Preston Mulvig, former student, takes care of the equipment around here, trucks and simulators. Gary Allman, Gary's a former UPS driver, worked for them for 30 years. Then he went to work for Century College as an instructor. When Century closed down last year, they closed down about 10 months ago, then we swooped Gary up, and he's been working with us ever since. Sam and Winger, we decided that so many of us instructors were baby boomers and up there in age, we needed some young blood. So we brought Sam in. Sam primarily helps out on a person's first driving lesson. We kind of have an expertise for each instructor, and Sam's kind of the guy that's in charge of giving people their first lesson. Tim is typically their last lesson. Mark and Gary are the in-between lessons. It's not etched in stone, but kind of the way it works around here. Matt Hacker works in customer support up at the front counter. He's a avid Vikings fan, so he's been pretty depressed the last couple months. All right. All right, so we have an electronic login system. You all have a student ID with a barcode on it. When you come in the morning, please log in. There are 2 login stations in the front lobby. One on a table, one on the wall right by the front door. Please remember to log in, and then at the end of the day, please remember to log out. That's how we track your attendance here, okay? We have 4 different categories that we're tracking you in. If you're here in the classroom, if you're in the lobby working on studying materials, or if you're out in the yard practicing your inspection skills, then we consider that coursework. If you're on a simulator, that is separately logged on the system. Backing range has a separate login station, and then when you're with an instructor, there's a unique login station. So we'll show you those login stations when you get to those activities. Okay? The big thing is, please remember to log in when you come in, and then please, 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 double please remember to log out when you leave. On people's first day of training here, they typically forget to log out. If you do forget and you remember later, give us a call, let us know, so that we can go in and manually adjust it. Even if it's the next day, let us know what time you left so we can figure that out, okay? No smoking in front of the building. This isn't a request. Here's why. Somebody used the railing one day as an ashtray, dang near burnt the building down. So we now have a smoking shed on the west side of the building. There's tables and chairs in there and a butt can. So those of you that still imbibe in that, that's your smoking area. Need somebody, Pat?
Sir Scott. How about James Denise?
No, different James. Okay. All right, dress for the weather. What's the weather supposed to be on Wednesday? Because you're going to be going outside on Wednesday, okay? I know we got snow today and into tonight. It's supposed to be ending early morning. Huh?
It's supposed to be a storm today.
Well, it's not much of a storm. We're only supposed to get 1 to 2 inches. So. But we'll see. It's Minnesota. It could be nothing. It could be 6 inches. Well, you know, the way to figure out what it's going to do is go outside and see what it did. But dress for the weather. You're going to be spending at least 2 hours outside on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Okay? So dress accordingly. You need to wear boots, something with lug soles and ankle support, so that you don't slip and fall as you get in and out of the trucks. Now, getting in and out of the trucks is such an important issue that I want to show you a video on this.
Hi, I'm Bill Collins, Interstate Truck Driving School. Today's safety tip, we're going to talk about the proper way to enter and exit a tractor trailer rig using what we call the 3 points of contact. Come on with me, let's go over to the truck. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations require provisions for drivers to be able to get in and get out of trucks safely. They require handholds, they require proper steps. So understand that the federal government's looking out for you, providing you with proper safety equipment to get in and get out of these trucks, but now you got to follow the rules and get in and get out properly. Let me show you how. What we want to do is we enter our truck, is we always want to maintain contact with 3 limbs. So we've got 4, 2 feet and 2 arms. So as you are entering the vehicle, notice I've got handholds here and here. I've got a handhold out here. And one up here on the inside of the door. So as I go into the truck, I grab my 2 handhelds here. With my feet up, I come up to the second step. Now I can grab again. And I'm in, secure, 3 points of contact. Ready to do my job. Okay, we were showing you the proper way to get in and get out of a truck using one of our newer rigs. That's an 07 Freightliner Coronado. This is an older truck. This is a 1990 International. We still have the same handhelds. Now the steering wheel becomes one of my handhelds on this truck. This one's a little steeper climb to get in and get out. But very important in a truck like this that you're using the proper 3 points of contact. Now the wrong way to get in the truck. First of all, don't just jump up in there without holding down properly. Like this, hoping you make it. You might fall out, and then it's going to be the end of your workday. When it's time to get out of the truck, when you get out of the truck, it's the exact same process. Grab your handheld. My 3 points of contact. I got my handhelds. Down the first step, down the second step, change my handheld. 3 points of contact the entire way up. That's the correct way to get out of the truck. Again, getting out, I'm going to use my steering wheel as one of my points of contact. Okay? So here I'm safe and secure. Can make my steps down. Always maintaining 3 points of contact in an older truck. That's the way to do it, gentlemen. When you come out of the truck, take your time. This is the wrong way to get out of a truck. That's the wrong thing to do, ladies and gentlemen. Now, an important ingredient to being able to get in and get out of these trucks properly is proper footwear, okay? First of all, no sandals, no tennis shoes, cowboy boots only if you put lugged soles on them. The typical cowboy boot has a smooth leather sole, not acceptable for driving a truck, okay? So if you want to wear your cowboy boots, get them soled up with some lugs. Now, what you want is a good lug pattern on the soles of your shoes or boots to get good traction. Here's an example of some shoes that are worn out. A smooth sole like that? No, not acceptable, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Go out and spend the money to get some good footwear. Yeah, it's going to cost you a few bucks to get some good Red Wings or something from REI or something. But you want good footwear to give you good traction going in and out of these things so you don't slip and fall. Okay, one of the things that you want to consider working around trucks is be real aware of potential spills on the ground with oil and diesel fuel. You walk through this oil, now the soles of your shoes or boots are slippery. That's going to increase the likelihood of a slip or a fall. Whenever you go fuel a truck, be careful. If you spill any diesel on the ground, diesel fuel is very slippery. It's got a lot of oil content to it. That's a part of the lubrication qualities of diesel fuel necessary to run a diesel motor properly. So diesel on the ground is going to be real slippery. So be careful if you spill anything, and anytime you go into a truck stop, don't be surprised if the previous driver has spilled some diesel, making the ground very slippery. Again, you get that on your boots, and then when you go to climb in and out of your truck, you slip and fall and hurt yourself, and now you're out of work. So be real careful around fuel stops. Along with good footwear, your outerwear is important. Good gloves, okay? I've always got a couple pair of gloves, one regular work gloves. I've got another pair of gloves just for fueling, so I can get diesel fuel on my gloves and then put them in my jacket. Keep your jacket buttoned up or zipped up. Don't let it go flying in the breeze and let it get caught on things. Wintertime up here in Minnesota, I've always got a hood with me. Proper gear. proper footwear and outerwear, that's important to doing the job safely too. Okay, well, I hope you gathered some important information with our little introduction to 3 points of contact today. This is important stuff. It may seem to be something that's trivial. It might seem to be not that important. But let me tell you something. More truck drivers get hurt on the job, falling off of a truck or trailer, than any other single type of injury. This is important. This is serious. It's important for you to be able to keep your jobs and stay at work and enjoy life here in the good old US of A. I'm Bill Collins with Interstate Truck Driving School. Check us out on the web at www.interstatedriving.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, but more important, a safe day.
I don't know why my video was so broken up there, but so 3 points of contact. The point I was making right at the end there is that there are more work comp injuries due to falling off a truck than any other type of injury. So it's important on your test too. All right, so keep that in mind as we go along. That always maintain 3 points of contact. The restrooms are located behind this room down the long hall. This door over here is emergency exit only. No alarm will sound, but you won't be able to get back in that door if you go on it. Now, you are more than welcome to have lunch, snacks, coffee, meals here in this classroom. Perfectly fine with that. All I ask is that you pick up after yourselves. Simple as that. On Wednesdays, when you're going outside, you'll be in the classroom here on Wednesday, for those of you attending for the first time this week, until 1 o'clock. And there won't be a lunch break per se, but there's going to be a video between 11:30 and 12:30 that day. So that'd be a perfect time for you to have your lunch here in the room. So bring your lunch with on Wednesday, or you could run down a quick trip too. We'll take a short break to allow you time to do that. Feel free to charge your phone or tablets or laptops here in the classroom. The electrical outlets underneath you do work. We do not have Wi-Fi here. To be honest with you, I just don't want to deal with it. And the biggest thing I want to avoid is people coming and saying, my laptop was infected by your Wi-Fi. I just don't want to deal with that, okay? So if you want free Wi-Fi, I'm sure Starbucks will help you out. There is a phone out in the lobby on a desk by the front door that you're welcome to use if you need an outside phone line. We share the parking lot here with Midwest Fence. You will see signs out there that delineate our side and their side. Please park on our side of the parking lot. If our side gets all filled up, which can happen on a Wednesday, then please park on the street. Now, we have a lot of different companies coming here, recruiting you, attempting to hire you, right? Today, US Express is expected at noon. We'll see if the weather creates any issues with that. R&L Carrier is going to be here tomorrow. Schneider is going to be here on Thursday. Next week, we got Rail, XPO, and Halver Lines. Now, gentlemen, you couldn't have picked a better time to get in the trucking industry, okay? The wages are just through the roof for new drivers. Honest to God, we have one of our students connected with us last week. This lady went through here last summer, and she's making 90 grand a year. Now, she is working her butt off, okay? She is not home. She's running over the road in a team operation, okay? So she's home one night a week. Well, 2 nights. She's home for about 34 hours. That's what we need for what's called a reset. So she's home a day and a half a week and back on the road, and the truck's moving the whole time, right? You Class B drivers, there's jobs out there that pay 33, 34, 35 bucks an hour. Do the math, okay? That's 65, 70 grand a year, right? What's happened is that the trucking industry is in a pickle because it's so hard to find good qualified drivers. And several things have led us to where we are right now. But the last domino to fall that's put us where we are is the feds 2 years ago created some rules, or the rules went into effect 2 years ago, that control the DOT physicals much better. It used to be, for years and years and years, all you had to do was carry a health card in your wallet. Okay? Well, the truck stop sold blank health cards for $4. How hard was it to have a health card under that scenario? $4 and a friend with lousy penmanship, and you got a health card. Okay? Fraudulent, but still you had a health card. And you know, if let's say that a guy had some physical issues, he couldn't pass a physical. Well, it's real simple. All you had to do was go to work for somebody that didn't give a crap. Okay? Get a fraudulent card so you could show it to the cops. And your employer knew what was going on, but they didn't care. There are plenty of fly-by-night operations out there that don't follow the rules and will break them constantly and don't care if you break them constantly. So people could get away with that. Health card in your wallet, the cops are happy. Fraudulent health card with the right employer, they're happy. Well, now that doesn't cut it. Okay? Now you have to go to a individual that is certified, registered, trained by the feds. And when you go there, then they do a proper physical and they enter your information into a federal database. Then you have to share that health card with the state of Minnesota so that they can put it onto your computerized driving record that you have a health card. Okay? So this happened 2 years ago. And that's had a huge impact on our industry. Because what you're doing is you're taking people and you're saying, this guy doesn't qualify, this guy doesn't qualify, this guy doesn't qualify. What's it take to be a greeter at Walmart? Okay? I mean, if you can breathe and you're sober at the moment, you can be a greeter at Walmart, right? Okay? Or work at Home Depot or Menards or Chipotle or Amazon or any of those jobs, right? Well, to be a truck driver, you've got to pass a DOT physical. You can't be insulin dependent. You can't have high blood pressure. You've got to be sober. Okay? And you know, think of what's going on in this country. The states are one by one legalizing marijuana.
But I mean, excuse me.
Yep.
You gotta be controlled on your medical problems too, right? So let's say that you got a blood pressure, and they give you medicine for that.
Right.
So,
Right.
okay.
But there are people that even with meds can't get
You
it
don't
down
even
enough.
take care of it. So yeah,
Yeah. So that takes, I mean, all of these factors, your driving record. You can't have multiple DWIs, at least recent. If you had multiple DWIs 10, 15, 20 years ago, the industry can deal with that. But if you've had them in the last 2 years, you're not going to get a job, okay? Well, maybe, but if you do, you're not going to get paid much, I'll tell you that.
$19,000 you ended pay DWI.
$19,000?
Yeah, one of my co-workers got that, and he went in jail, and he came out and started doing all the payments, and so by the end, he ended with the DWI. He paid almost $19,000.
Yep.
Just to get a lawyer to the court is like a $2,500.
Yep. So that's why we are what we are. Now, another change occurred December 18th. Everybody know what that is? Electronic login. All right? So that's another thing that's been going on for years and years and years. Drivers have been cheating on their hours of service regulations. And the way this works, so what we've been doing since the late 1930s is keeping track of our driving time in a book, okay, paper logs, right? Now, there's a limit to how far you can drive based on how many hours you can drive, right? With the 11 hours of driving, The feds say your maximum number of miles should be right around 600, depending upon the speed limit. But anything more than 600 miles in 11 hours, can't do it. Can't do it legally, right? So you could get from here to Indianapolis, if everything went perfect, you get from here to Indianapolis in one day. And then you have to take 10 hours off, all right? Well, there are drivers, let's just look at a map here real quick. So let's say we're going to go from South St. Paul here to Indianapolis, Indiana. So that is 582 miles, okay? So we can make that. So you can do that in one day, right? Cincinnati is too far because that's 702 miles, shortest route, all right? You can't get from Cincinnati from here to Cincinnati. There's a Toyota plant in Lexington, Kentucky. Toyota's pretty proud of that. It's 777 miles from here, right? So now here's my point. Legally, all we can do is go from here to Indianapolis. So if you had a load of stuff that's going to the Toyota plant down in Lexington, Kentucky, you would leave at 6 in the morning. By 8 o'clock at night, you'd have to stop at Indianapolis, spend 10 hours off, so 6 o'clock the next morning, you'd complete your trip, taking 3 more hours to get to Lexington, Kentucky, right? And then let's say you've got a dedicated route, you're going back and forth, so you're going to offload, reload, and then you're going to head back. You won't be able to get all the way back. So if you had left on Monday, you'd gotten there Tuesday, something less than noon, and then you're back here Wednesday night. And then you could repeat it on Thursday, right? Head back down, stop in Indianapolis, complete your delivery to Lexington, Kentucky on Friday, get back here Saturday night. All right, so that's what you can do legally. What drivers have been doing for years is they take off Monday morning at 6 o'clock and they get to Indianapolis around 7, 8 o'clock at night and they should be shutting down. And they recorded that in a book, okay? So what they do is they stop at a truck stop and they take the book that they used in that initial trip and they toss that one and they pick up another book and they say, in this book, they claim they left Sunday night and drove to Indianapolis and got there at 8 o'clock in the morning, took 10 hours off, and now they're going to complete their trip to Lexington, Kentucky. So they drive the 750 miles all the way to Lexington, Kentucky in one day. And then they get up the next morning and they take a third book, and now they make up that they left on Sunday morning. In order to make it legal for them to be driving, they just keep fictionalizing what they have done. And they'll drive all the way back here on Tuesday. Then Wednesday, they'll go all the way back again. They come back on Thursday, go back on Friday, come back on Saturday. So they have driven far in excess of what they're supposed to do, okay? And with the paper logging system, if you're smart enough and on top of this, you can get away without getting caught out on the road when you go through a scale, all right? Now, drivers were still getting caught in a couple of different ways. You know, as we've gotten further along in our society, we have more and more electronic controls. So now it's more difficult to hide what you're doing. But the other thing is, if there was an accident, then there'd be an investigation, and these guys would get caught. The feds were frustrated because, it was hard to catch people doing this stuff, because all you had to do was keep making up fictitious logbooks, right? Well, now we have an electronic log, and now we're doing it electronically. I'll be giving you all an app later this week, and you are tracking your time electronically now, right? Unless you're a computer science engineer, I don't know how you're going to cheat on this deal. And what the electronic, automatic onboard electronic devices do, and even with my phone, okay? In order to do this legally, I could do it legally with my phone, but the phone and the truck have to talk to each other, and that can be done with Bluetooth. And so what happens then is when that truck is moving, the app knows it. So I can't cheat. I can't say, yeah, I left on Sunday when I left on Monday, right? Well, that's had a significant effect in the last couple of months, because this went into effect December 18th, so less than 2 months ago, right? And the enforcement of it isn't in full implementation, and that goes into effect in 2 more months in April. It becomes fully regulated. So, try to make it simple there. That's increasing the demand for drivers, because now what a guy used to be able to do 3 loads a week, now he can only do 2. So how do we get that 3rd load there? Got to hire another half a driver. Okay? So it's increased all of those guys that cheated. Now, not everybody cheated, and the major companies weren't cheating. So that's the other interesting thing is that the major companies, the big players, they don't cheat. They weren't cheating. So this change that occurred in December didn't affect them at all. So it hasn't affected, I'd say maybe 10% of our industry has been affected by it. So it hasn't caused a huge surge since December 18th. But here's the big benefit to all of you for this. So remember now, if when you start a day, you have 14 hours to complete it. And we're going to get into more detail on this tomorrow with hours of service regulations. So with a paper log, you can fudge this. So let's say I started my day at 8 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I got to a point where I'm going to drop my load off, and I sit there for 4 bloody hours waiting to get unloaded. Now that really screws me up. That's 4 hours of time I can't be driving because I'm sitting at some loading dock, right? So under the cheating proposition, what would happen is I'd go back and I'd change my log. And I'd say, I didn't leave at 8 in the morning, I left at noon. And it didn't take me 4 hours to get my load on, it took me 10 minutes. And now I can drive until 2 in the morning. If I had done it legally, starting at 8 in the morning, I'd be done at 10 at night. But again, I got delayed for 4 hours at this loading dock, and I'm upset about that. And so I go back and I cheat on this to allow me to drive longer. Make sense? Electronic log's not going to be able to let you do that. So now the electronic log, it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you can't change it. You can't change that log. So you're done at 10 o'clock at night. So you spend 4 hours at the warehouse waiting to get loaded. You leave there. Now you have to stop at 10 o'clock at night, and you don't get the delivery done on time. And now whoever's getting the delivery is going, what the bleep? This is late. And what the trucking industry is saying is, well, you delayed me 4 hours at that warehouse. Good morning.
Good morning.
And that's why it's late. And the shipping industry is going to go, well, wait a minute. 2 months ago you were getting here on time. How come you're not doing it on time now? Electronic logging. So you know what that's forcing shippers to do? Quit screwing around and waiting 4 hours to get us loaded. So in other words, the way the industry was functioning, shippers and receivers were delaying drivers and didn't give a crap. Because the way the driver would react to it is they'd cheat on their logbook and still get it done. Well, now they can't cheat no more. They can't get away with it anymore. So now, if that shipper and receiver want stuff done on time, guess what? They're going to have to become more proficient. So now you and I are going to spend less time screwing around waiting to get loaded and unloaded. That's a heck of a benefit, isn't it? Okay. So those are a couple of things that are affecting this driver shortage, creating these opportunities for you. We're here to assist you with that process. The most important part of this whole process from your perspective is getting that license, all right? So the way this training process works, again, as I mentioned to you earlier, you're going to interact with Pat to set up any training, all right? Anything with a steering wheel goes through Pat. So since Pat's here, let me introduce him. Pat, I'm live streaming.
Live stream.
I'm live streaming.
So I would stay in this box.
So no, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put up your slide
Oh, okay.
presentation, and that way folks at home will see your slide presentation.
Fantastic. Hear me.
But if you would stay here anyway so that they can hear you,
Sure.
we can get this thing to open up here. Now I figured since the weather is bad that there might be people that might want to check us out from home. So there you go.
All right. Good morning.
Morning.
All right. Who's new here today? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Going once. Going twice. Okay. 4. Welcome. So you two gentlemen are with Mind the Gap doing the Class B stuff. Okay. And you're doing
Class A.
Class A. Doing Class A? Class A. Okay. All right. So as Bill mentioned, my name is Pat. I'm the one that is going to be taking care of your scheduling. So if it has a steering wheel, I schedule it. Nothing here that has a steering wheel is something you can just walk in and do. It's all done by appointment. Now, sometimes if you hear there's an open spot, you can get some extra time on it. But generally, everything is done by appointment. So the only thing you can just walk in and do without having a schedule is the classroom stuff. Pre-trip inspection on Wednesdays, the rest of the classes. But if it has a steering wheel, whether it's a simulator or a truck or a range or whatever, if there's a steering wheel, it has to be scheduled by appointment. I'm the only person that does the scheduling. Nobody else does the scheduling. Bill won't even do the scheduling. And the reason being is if there's more than one person that does the schedule, too many mistakes can happen. I was sick about 6 weeks ago and I wasn't here, so Bill was helping with the scheduling. Then when I came back, it took a little bit for me to figure out what Bill had going on, and you know, but if we were both, there was a couple days where I was here and he was here, we're both scheduling at the same time, and we were spending more time talking to each other than we were, because we wanted to make sure we didn't double book anybody. So it's just too hard to have two people scheduling, because the chances are things can get double booked. So we don't do that. So now, or always, it's always been where I'm the only one that does the schedule, unless for some reason I'm not here, like I was when I was sick a couple weeks ago. All scheduling is done in person. I do not verbally do schedules over the phone, period. It's all going to be done in person, in writing. We're going to have you sign off on the schedule. I will do schedules by email, but it can take longer to do it that way because I'm not always sitting at my computer checking my emails. So if you send me an email, I might not get back to you for 4 or 5 hours. Then I'll send you one, and you're not sitting at your computer to respond to it. So something that could take 5 minutes in person could take 3 days via email. So we're going to try to avoid doing emails. Now, when I do your two schedules, Pierre's going to be there when we make your schedules, because he's Mind the Gap needs to know when the schedules are. Anybody else that's having any funding from different organizations, they have different rules. YWCA, for instance, we have to send schedules to them. Workforce centers want to know attendance records. So the big thing is when you're here, please make sure you're punched in at all times so you have credit for it. Because anybody that's being funded by somebody else, those people want to keep track of it, so we send those records off. You know, people that are VA students or whatever it is, we just need to keep track of everything. Bottom line is, though, even if you paid for it yourself, you want to make sure you're punched in because you want credit for everything you do. Just that simple. You want credit for all the stuff you do. Now, when I give you that schedule, it's going to be in writing, like I mentioned. I need 1 business day notice if you can't make it for any driving lessons with an instructor. Any training appointments with an instructor, I need a business day notice. Do not no-show. No-showing is a bad thing. If you no-show, a little later, Bill's going to go over a little more how this program works. And you get a certain amount of training hours depending on the program you're in. And if you no-show a one-on-one lesson with an instructor, you do not get to reschedule that. If you do not give us advance notice and you don't show up for that appointment, don't come in. I had this actually happen to me on Friday. Somebody came in Thursday or Friday afternoon. He came in, he missed an appointment on Monday, and he wanted to reschedule. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. You no-showed the appointment, you don't get it back. So now he's all mad that he loses 2 hours of one-on-one training. But I had a truck here, I had an instructor here waiting for him. We couldn't find him. He wasn't here, so he loses that appointment. So you got to be here. Now, when it comes to the road test itself, I need 3 business days notice. I have to be able to have time to try and put somebody else in that spot or give the state advance notice that we're not coming. We can't no-show road tests at all. We don't get enough road tests the way it is. We have to have time to put new names into those places to let the state know who's coming. So we can't no-show road tests. We need 3 days notice to reschedule things with the state. When we have your road test schedule made, it's going to be with all your driving appointments. You're going to know well in advance when it is, so there won't be any surprises. Business days are Monday through Friday. Now, there is an exception to not showing up on time, and that is weather. Tomorrow, who knows what's going to happen? We don't know. It's supposed to start snowing today. My suspicions are it's going to snow tonight. They'll have it all plowed out tomorrow. We're going to be just fine, but we never know. We can't trust the weatherman. It just depends on what time it actually starts snowing. It looks like it's going to start any time now. So we should be okay tomorrow. But if you wake up in the morning and there's a foot of snow on the ground and you have an appointment with a driving lesson or anything, call before you come. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to get yourself into an accident driving here because you got a foot of snow on the ground.
Okay.
Call before you come. It's just that simple.
Okay, and you can take the class by line.
You
right?
could, like, if it's classroom like what's going on now, you can watch it online at home.
Sounds good.
If you have backing practice or a driving lesson, it just depends on whether or not stuff is plowed out. Now, if a foot of snow happened overnight and it's already plowed, of course we're not going to cancel.
Yeah, exactly.
It just goes by the conditions of that at that exact time. I'm not going to change your schedule because of a weather forecast. Somebody was emailing me over the weekend because it's supposed to be snowing on Tuesday. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow until tomorrow. He's got a test tomorrow. I'm not going to cancel his test because it might snow. I'll cancel his test if it does snow. If it doesn't, and the roads are plowed, it snows, but the roads are plowed, we'll keep going with this test. No big deal. So we'll contact you the afternoon or evening before. And even then, it's the morning of is the more important thing. Whatever your appointment is, we'll just, you call us, we'll call you, we'll just make it work. Living in this state, though, you have to be flexible because of weather. 2 things really affect it. Cold. Sometimes trucks don't like to work in the cold. And it doesn't matter whether it's here or on the job. It's just a fact of life. And then snow and ice. If there's ice, we're going to cancel, period. We're not going to let you go out driving. Snow, it depends on how much and how well the streets are plowed. But if you don't like those things, you can move to a state that doesn't have cold snow or ice, because that's something Florida, Arizona, that's something I would like to do personally if I could figure out a way to make that work, because I'm getting tired of this. But I'm still in Minnesota. It is what it is. So you want to live here, we're going to have to deal with it. I've had students want to take the whole winter off and then just come back in the spring because they don't want to drive in the snow. And I'm like, then why do you live in this state?
It's crazy. Yeah.
If you're running late, let us know. Comes a simulator backing, if the things are empty, I got people standing here just chomping at the bit sometimes to jump onto the backing range, for instance, especially for Class A students. So if you're running late, let us know so we don't give your spot away. Now, when it comes to all your appointments, so I mentioned, don't no-show with
No
driving
go, no
lessons. If you're running late, let us know. Here's the thing: if you no-show appointments on the simulator or the backing range, and you have a full schedule, and you no-show those appointments, we're going to cancel your existing schedule you have. So you may show up one time and the schedule you thought you had is no longer there. If you can't be responsible to let us know that you can't be here, we're not going to kick you out of school, but you're going to start over with your schedule because I'm going to give your spots to somebody that's here. I get it. You know, we had one student come through here, he had family problems, and he was trying to work around, and it just didn't work, and ended up canceling his schedule. And he called up and he's all just bummed out. And I'm like, dude, you got to deal with your stuff at home before you can worry about finishing this. So he got everything taken care of there, and now he's back on track. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes don't extend yourself too much. If you can't be here full time to do what you need to do, we have to change your schedule. But don't commit to a schedule that you can't be here for. And if you can't be here for it, we'll just change it if we have to. If you no-show, I will change it for you without notice. I'll just cancel it, and you'll show up and no longer have a schedule. Just that simple. Part of that to protect you. If I keep things on the schedule and then you no-show for it, you lose it. If I cancel it and we reschedule it, you don't lose it. It's that simple. So sometimes we have to adjust it for you. Also, when you're coming to training, you have to have a driver's license and permit in your possession to drive the truck. If you show up here without your permit, you do not get to drive. We will not cancel and reschedule your training. We're still going to do training. We just ain't going to let you drive on the road. Keep your permit with your driver's license. Don't keep it in your glove box of your car and then let your spouse use your car, or take it to the garage and drop it off for 3 days for repairs. I've had that happen. Don't leave it on your dresser at home for safekeepings. You must have your permit in your possession. The permit is 2 pieces of paper, a large full-size yellow piece of paper with a small white piece of paper attached to it. That's what a permit looks like. You have to have that in your possession. Anybody here a Wisconsin resident, you get a plastic permit eventually. You'll get the paper one initially. It's got your picture on. Do you have your permit yet? No. Okay. You're going to get a paper one, and you'll have that for about a week, and then they're going to mail you a plastic one that's just like your driver's license with your picture on it.
Okay.
So, where in Wisconsin do you live?
Just Spring Valley is kind of behind.
Oh, Spring Valley. Okay, so you're not too far. I know where Spring Valley is.
Okay.
So good. You're not a million miles away. We get some students from Wisconsin that are so far away. You know, that's like more of an issue. So now the way the scheduling process is going to work, everybody that signed up today either has already done or is going to need to do a drug screen. Once I get those drug screen results back, then we can talk about scheduling. Thursday and Friday mornings, I sit down with each person that signed up in the beginning of the week. Thursday and Friday morning, I will talk to them about schedules. The reason being is there's a class Bill I already heard talking about, the pre-trip class on Wednesday. I wait till everybody's attended that class once before I actually talk about schedules, because that's just as important as the driving portion of it. So until you've attended that class, you're not going to get a schedule. So if you don't show up for class on Wednesday, you're not going to get a schedule Thursday or Friday. Also, you have to have a permit to get a schedule, and you have to have the drug screen results passed and back. We can do classes without all that. So anybody, you know, if you can't pee today, not a big deal. We can do it tomorrow. We don't have to worry about it. I just have to have the results before I can schedule anything in the trucks or any of the training. For classroom, I don't need it, so it's not a big deal. It's just we can't schedule anything until we get to that point. So Thursday or Friday morning, I'll be grabbing you guys one at a time. All the scheduling will be done one-on-one. I'm not going to grab you in a group, with the exception of you guys. Pierre will be there when we do it. Other than that, it's all one-on-one. It goes by skill. We'll talk, figure out where you're at, do assessments, and then try and tailor the schedule to your skills and availability best we can. And we'll adjust as needed. Anybody have any questions? Okay, so see this big picture on what's that say? Make sure you have your license and permit. Last week, 3 people showed up without their permit, said nobody told me I needed my permit. You have to have your permit in possession to drive the truck. Please bring your permits. I know it's a big wad of papers. Please have it with you. So it's important to make sure you have that. Don't lose it. If you lose it, you get a duplicate. Not a big deal, but gotta have your permit and your driver's license in your possession. All right. no other questions, I'll see you all Thursday or Friday.
Thanks, Matt. So again, he is your one contact for scheduling anything. Why do you suppose we only have one person that does that?
Want to be booked on the same time.
Yep, so we don't double book people and get things all confused. So, and it's not done via the phone. We do not schedule things over the phone. It's got to be in person or via email. That way there's a record of it. Make sense? This is important to your success in the industry, that you're a reliable driver. So pay attention to these schedules. And the thing that we need from you is good communication. If you can't make an appointment, or if you're going to be late for an appointment, call us. All right? Oh, I forgot. Oh, I thought it was yesterday. That's problematic. Right? That makes life difficult for us. So if you communicate with us, we're really easy to get along with. All right? So if you're running late, let us know ahead of time. You know, if I've got an instructor sitting around that I'm paying 50-some thousand bucks a year, and he's supposed to be meeting with somebody, and he's sitting there twiddling his thumbs because the guy's not there, that doesn't work. Okay? So if you had called and let us know, I'm going to be a half hour late, I could do something productive with that guy, and then you and I are going to get along a lot better. Make sense? So just communicate with us. Let us know what's going on. That's important to your success in this industry.
So, Bill, I want to try to take the test on Thursday, and probably I take off. I go early to the DMV office, so I got a call for that too.
No, call them. No,
No, to you.
no.
Okay.
What I'm concerned about are appointments that you schedule through PAT.
For driving. Okay.
Yep, and that's for backing range simulator or driving lessons with an instructor.
Gotcha.
That's my primary concern. The classroom stuff I wouldn't worry about so much. What time do you plan on going on Thursday?
I try to go early. I mean, I'm leaving Farmington. For me, it's pretty close to get there.
Okay.
So hopefully I can get maybe 8 o'clock in the morning, you know.
Okay. Because the class we're doing on Thursday is pretty important, so get here as
Oh,
soon as you.
Thursday is very important, okay.
Yep.
So,
I'd rather you did it on Friday or Thursday afternoon.
okay, then I'll do it on Friday.
Or leave here early on Thursday.
There's another one. Yeah, that would be good too. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
I mean, it's been years and I've been in Egan, so, you know, it's probably what, 16, 15 years and I didn't go Egan.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that I go into the, get my driver's renew, it's right there in Lakeland, so.
Yep. Okay, so that would be, that would be my suggestion. And then tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, we have our permit prep again.
Okay.
Tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. You've been to that, haven't you? The permit prep class?
This Saturday, yeah, we were here.
You were there on Saturday. So we're going to do that again on Tuesday. So
Okay.
if you want to catch that, all right. We take a break every hour, so let's take a 10-minute break.
All right.